Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Empire Secrets. I'm your host, Mariana Henninger. I want to dedicate this episode to Nico, who is going to be listening to this in just a few minutes as soon as I end recording, because Nico is my podcast producer and editor and publisher. And I wrote him this morning and I said, "Hey, Nico, I know that we have a different episode scheduled for today, but don't hate me. Can we go ahead and do a new, fresh episode instead that I'm going to record right now for you?" So I'm literally recording this Thursday, February 27th, when this episode drops. And Nico is staying up late to work on this. And so I appreciate him so much. The reason I'm doing this is because it's my birthday today. And I just wanted to come on here again. I haven't done an Empire Diaries episode in a little while. I haven't given you guys an update of what's going on with me behind the scenes and just like had a heart to heart sharing, what I'm doing in my business, where my thoughts are, where my brain is going, what I've been investing in, time wise, resources wise, and just sort of where everything is at. So I want to start with saying that I, I'm kind of at this marker of my business. I've been in business now for about a little over 2 years officially. Actually, right around now marks the 2-year anniversary of the name Brand Magnetic. I had, kind of launched the business about a month or two earlier with my first brand video clients. And, but the official anniversary of the business, I like it to be when I actually bought the domain brandmagnetic.com, which some of you might remember I finished paying off not very long ago. And I'm so proud of that. Obviously, I love the name. But anyway, so this is what's been going on with me. I just launched the workshop called Undeniable. If you're in my world, you might have heard me talk about it or, link to it in my emails and things like that. And it was meant to be a workshop that was going to happen right before my card open for the next cohort of the Brand Video Accelerator. And I decided to postpone my launch because of a number of things. I think the biggest one, though, is that I'm now working with a launch strategist and copywriter by the name of Laura Kendrick, who you might have seen on a past episode of Empire Secrets. I wish I had the number with me, but she is such a gem. I am so blessed to know her. In fact, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about in this episode of Empire Diaries, just how much relationships have changed my life in the last, I would say, 6 months, especially. I feel like I spent the good part of the first year and a half building Brand Magnetic with friends or, surrounded by people who are gems and who are really lovely people. But I feel like the really deep relationships were kind of few and far between. And maybe that was by design, where I was still getting to know a lot of people and I was still building a lot of things. So I have been, I feel like I'm still very much heads down in the business building phase, but I started really craving more deeper, meaningful relationships with especially women, I would say, who are also online business owners last year. And that was a thing that I kept over and over, just honestly, just asking God. I was like, God, I want to meet really awesome women. I want to be able to have friendships that also build me up, that also, challenge me on a personal level and on a business level. Folks that are where I aspire to be, where I'm building towards, people who can share their expertise and their love and their caring. And I feel like that has been one of the most amazing things that has happened to me in the last 6 months. I can't believe we're already almost in March. I don't know if you guys are feeling the same thing. We're like, how the heck is it almost March already? Oh my Lord. Really makes you feel like you have to have your shit in order because time goes by so quickly. And so the idea that if you are not on top of what you're doing, you're not going to actually get it done. So anyway, that's a different point. My point being that I made some really intentional moves to find the places that I needed to be in order to connect with the people I wanted to connect with. And luckily for me, one of those groups was a really pivotal group, I would say, is going to be a really pivotal group in my success, called the Mixer Mind. It's run by a lady called Linda Sidhu. And it really is where I have found my peers, folks who are more established in business. Some folks are way ahead of me, from, you know, having built their business over years. They're in the 7+ figure range. There are folks that are that, but I would say the majority of the folks are either right where I am or just slightly ahead of me, if you will, in terms of revenue and systems and teams and all of that, like, sort of structure of the business. Maybe sometimes in terms of clarity as well, although I feel like I have so much clarity. That is something that I'm really excited about, is just the clarity that I have in my business. So the relationship that I have been able to build in that group have changed my life. So inside of that group is where I have definitely met some women who are really becoming very important to me. And then outside of that group, I'm starting to reap the rewards of friendships that I have built now over months, little bits at a time. And one of those people, I want to give him a shout out. His name is Jerry Potter. You might know him from I think it's, oh man, I wish I remembered the name of his podcast. Let me look it up super quickly. But it's one of the Social Media Examiner podcasts. And I believe it's called Social Media Talk. Um, Yes. So Social Media Marketing Talk Show is the name of his podcast. He also has a different podcast called his own podcast called Done by Lunch. And shout out to Jerry if you're listening to this. But uh, Jerry not only attended Undeniable recently as a paying customer, as somebody who bought a ticket to the workshop, but I was so thrilled to see him there for the full 2 hours, but I also reached out to him afterwards. I was like, "Hey, Jerry, I'd love that you were there. I just want your feedback. Like, how did it feel to be on your side of things? What could I have done better? Like, what just tell me how I can improve." And I trust Jerry so much. He is such a sharp guy in the business world, in copywriting, and like knowing how to articulate things beautifully. I mean, like he is the quintessential podcast host in the sense that he is so eloquent and so well spoken. And Jerry not only gave me really amazing feedback of everything he loved, everything that, could improve. And not only that, but he always has like great ideas for me. Things that he's picking up on, things that he's, you know, discussing in his mastermind. And anyway, so just getting his messages yesterday, truth be told, when I run a live event, I am spending so many hours preparing for it in advance. This might happen to you. I'm actually curious if it does. But after I teach it, I just like crash. I have nothing left in me. And I need at least a couple days, maybe at least a day to recover. And so yesterday was kind of my recovery day. And I took the whole afternoon to be at the park with my kid and some other kids and just like not be on my laptop, not be on my phone. I sent out the replay of the workshop, in the evening of the workshop. And so that was already done. I'm going to send out another email to folks because I made a special offer to join Brand Video Accelerator that expires tonight. And this is obviously like a little moment where the doors are open before the doors officially open. Absolutely not relevant to what I was going to say. But the messages that I was getting from Jerry were so touching and so generous. And I was like, I'm so blessed. I have not just Jerry, but a couple of other people that I could reach out to at a moment's notice. Shout out to Beth Nidick, who has become such a wonderful friend of mine, whose birthday it's also today. Um, I feel like she and I have such a great connection too, and we smart brains are speaking to each other's businesses all the time. So I just want to leave you with this encouragement. If you have not found your people yet, keep looking, keep showing up, keep being out there, keep having those coffee chats. I think coffee chats for me go both ways. Sometimes they're great and amazing. It's also about like following up and just like fostering those relationships that you feel have a lot of potential to become like closer. But it is so wonderful to not feel like I'm building this alone. And I've never felt like that alone, but there was definitely a time last year where I was like, man, I don't have the support that I really would like to have. And the companionship and the peer to peer sort of iron sharpens iron, relationships. And I prayed for that and I looked for that and I made the moves and I, at times made the investments to be in the right places. And I'm so overwhelmed by the love that is shown to me through my peers. Now, the smaller sort of inner circle that I've been able to build. So, with that said, if you feel like you don't have those relationships, or if you do have those relationships, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's such a game changer. I think that a lot of people already talk about how important it is to be in the right rooms and to be around the right people. And I even wrote, I remember saying this in an episode a while back that to me, in that certain moment of my life and in my business, being in the right room just meant like listening to the right podcasts, being exposed to the minds of the right people, quote, right people, right? People who were very sharp and who were inspirational and who had paved the way and who could give me, you know, not personal suggestions, but things that I could take and adapt into my business. But when you have real life relationships, those are so much better. So anyway, I wanted to share how much that has impacted me lately. I wanted to talk about why I shifted my timeline. As I mentioned, I'm working with Laura Kendrick, this copywriter and strategist. She's specifically a launch copywriter and strategist. And the reason is because I feel like the past launches that I've done have been just not as buttoned up as they could have been. There was a lot of behind the scenes that were um, playing catch up a little bit and trying, or soft launching, very intentionally soft launching, right? Where I was like, I don't have the entire full launch full of bells and whistles. Last time I didn't even do webinars. I just sold through my email list and a couple posts on social. And I was able to nearly fill up the program. It was a 600% increase in my launch revenue from the previous launch, which I 100% attribute to two things, primarily my brand video itself, drawing people in and people saying that once they watched my brand video, they were like, sold. The second thing was just having more of a pre-launch strategy. And so anyway, so those were not very buttoned up launches. This one, I just want to knock it out of the park, not just from a revenue perspective, but from a visibility and like really getting people into my world, right? Really understanding how to persuade them and how to show them what a brand video can do. And I feel like a lot of us have two difficulties when we talk about our things, our offers, right? One of them is that we might be focused so much on what we do and what we know and the how that we fail to focus on meeting people where they are and speaking their language first. I'm trying to remember where I saw this just recently, where somebody was selling a program and calling it by what they help them with, right? Or the solution, if you will. And when in fact they started framing it around what people were there, I remember. Okay. This guy called Sun Yi on Instagram. I'm pretty sure he's kind of in different platforms as well. But he wrote a post about how he made most of his money from, I think it's messaging strategy, or I think that's what he called it. Some sort of strategy, right? Where it's like the strategy is the thing that makes him the most money. However, what he calls himself is a website designer. And the reason is that he had started his business saying, I do website strategy, and it was crickets. He was fighting very hard to get people in the door. But once he started calling himself a website designer, and maybe there was more to that, like more specific or more niche, people were like, oh, I know somebody who needs that, and people could he was speaking their language first and foremost. And so they were sending people his way. They were coming his way. And once they came in, he was able to upsell them or include however he did it. Ultimately, they were getting a lot more strategy than design, if you will. And so he was still doing the same thing. He was just forward facing, calling it something completely different. And in terms of how I have run my business in these last 2 years, in the beginning, my focus was so heavily on the brand video, right? Brand video this, brand video that. This is what it is. This is how it works, yada, yada. And I think late last year, maybe in the fall, actually, summer, fall, I started shifting towards speaking about the emotional connection piece. And now I have shifted towards speaking about trust. And ultimately, to me, the brand video is the thing, right? It's still the tool, it's still the thing that I focus on. But in terms of meeting my audience where they are and speaking their language and talking to them about the benefits and the end results, it's not even about emotional connection, because emotional connection in of itself is sort of it could be a nice to have, it could be something that's a little more fluffy, but people that I want to reach, they understand the real sort of practical, hardcore value of trust, because trust is the last thing to a sale, right? It's something that needs to happen before people buy. They need to trust you. They need to trust that your offer actually is going to be good. And then before they trust you, they need to like you and know that they want to spend that journey getting to the results that you promise with you versus with somebody else. And so now my entire messaging has shifted to talking about how to build trust faster. The idea that we've accepted that it takes 6 to 12 months of dripping content consistently, of showing up all the time, of being present in all these different places and being like, here's me, here's what I do, here's the thing, here's the thing, here's the thing. That's still good, don't get me wrong, but it shouldn't take 6 to 12 months of doing that. And my argument and my thesis and what I'm proving is that what happens is the reason we need to take this long, the reason we need the 7 hours of interaction, which is something David Priestley, or Daniel, I'm sorry, Daniel Priestley talks about in his book, is because we are competing with noise the entire time. The only person that doesn't compete with noise is somebody who is closer to you, right? We pay a lot more attention to people who are close to us, who we've met, who we've interacted with, and most importantly, who have made us feel something. So, painting that picture of why building that connection, and maybe I don't call it connection, maybe I just call it building that trust factor from the get-go accelerates your entire sales process, is now the thing that I'm talking about, because this is what people, once they have that mindset shift, then they're a lot more willing to see that the brand video is the thing that will solve that for that problem, that will really change that entire sales process in the beginning of your funnel. If you're able to make that connection, create those feelings, really establish that interaction and that trust before people even interact with other pieces of your content, then every time they do, every time they're exposed to that, it will have so much more impact. It will be so much more powerful and therefore will accelerate your sales. And so, anyway, with that said, that is a shift that I've made in my messaging based on conversations with my peers, based on listening to my customers, listening to the people that I want to reach, and kind of hearing from them. I feel like the biggest objection that I have to overcome right now is this idea that, oh, a brand video sounds nice. It feels like a nice to have, or it feels like I could just do this myself and one day I will, right? And what I am showing them now is that is the what's at stake. If you don't have this piece in your marketing strategy, you're essentially giving yourself a whole lot more work over a whole lot more time. You're going to be consistent anyway. However, the person that could be converting in a third of that time is going to take the full 6 to 12 months, because you're literally competing with everyone else to establish trust. You're making them wait for every single piece of content to pick up on some micro signals about whether they like you. And instead, you could front load all of that and have that happen right away. So I'm very excited about this new shift, about really focusing on the idea of building trust and how this all works. I'm incorporating a lot more neuroscience into how I explain how this works, like from an actual biological perspective, not focusing on that. Because once again, I feel like I'm not entirely sure that people are as excited about this stuff as I am. I'm super excited about it. But the idea that this is not just me, you know, coming up with a theory that fits my offer. It's literally how our brains function in terms of trust being really linked to the oxytocin hormone. And oxytocin is released when you tell a story in a specific way. It's not just any old story. It's not just a boring narrative. It's not just facts. It's definitely not just facts. Facts elicit very little emotion. But if you have a story that's built in a certain way, and from my perspective, also told in like from a marketing perspective, right? Told in a certain way, using certain words, using certain visuals that release even more oxytocin, that oxytocin has been proven to translate into trust from somebody that you might not know that much, but you still trust them because that person has made you feel those things. Obviously, we're not using this to manipulate people or to trick them. It's literally to help them see us in a different light. And with all of our other content and all of our other credentials and all of our testimony, all of the other things that we already have in place are just going to have so much more impact as a result. So I'm excited about that. So we talked about um, my peers and how exciting that has been. We've talked about shifting the launch date because I really want this to be a full-blown launch. I want to maximize my impact for this launch. And I just share with you sort of a small shift in my messaging that I really, truly believe is going to have an amazing impact on it. I mean, it's already having an amazing impact on the amount of people that are coming into my world, listening to what I say, really like understanding what this all means, and that ultimately it's not about the brand video. That's just a tool to achieve the thing that you want to achieve in your business, which is to accelerate sales. What else? Yeah, and it's just been so awesome getting a ton of messages from friends today, wishing me a happy birthday. And a lot of folks are saying, like, what are you going to do? I hope you're going to treat yourself. I'm going to actually, my husband is going to pick up some Thai food from my favorite restaurant in Brooklyn. And that will be our dinner for tonight. And I'm really excited just for some time with my family. But ultimately, I'm going to be working today because I love working. I really love building my business, and every day that I get to work for myself is a privilege, it's a blessing, and it's the best day of my life. So thank you. I want to say thank you for my listenership. You guys have really made my day. I don't check my numbers very often, but every once in a while I'll open the email from Buzzsprout and I'm like, oh my gosh. In fact, like the last time I opened the email, my listeners, you guys had tripled in number. And if you follow me, I don't do a ton to promote this podcast. But there's so many gems in here. I had people tell me they loved the conversation with Rick last week. So anyway, I wanted to give you an update on how the empire building is going. And basically, all eyes are going to be on this next launch of the Brand Video Accelerator. One thing I want to do that you'll see in one of my emails recently or I'm sorry, in a few days from now, is I'm going to actually just tell you what the Video Accelerator is, which I feel like I haven't done in a while. And there's a lot of new people on my list. And so it's going to be ahead of the launch, but it's essentially like an expectation thereof. And the other thing that I want to share with you guys very openly, I don't know if it's the right thing to share with you, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Is that there's a part of me that I don't know how many more times I'm going to run the accelerator. I love running the accelerator, don't get me wrong, but it is kind of a loss leader in my business in that the amount of energy and time and even resources that go into that program are just not covered by how much I charge for it. And I don't want to charge more for it. And I don't know if that's a mindset issue or not, but I love the price point where it is. I want to make it accessible for people. I want I want it to be something that people can join and learn from and actually get their brand video done. I want to have it working in their business. Um, but I don't want to charge, 10, 20 grand for it. So there's a world where I might not be doing the brand video accelerator many more times. It's actually quite likely. And I'm going to be focusing on my done for you brand video signature and releasing the brand video system as a program that it is. It's kind of a standalone program where you wouldn't have as much support from me, but you could upgrade to have a bit more support from me if you wanted to. So this is not happening anytime soon. I'm very excited about this next round of the Brain Video Accelerator. Like, all of my energy is going into it. It's still my darling for sure, and I'm very, very excited about it. So what I'm trying to say is, like, if you know that you want to create a brand video, don't wait. Don't wait. I wish I could tell you, like, this program's going to be around for a very long time. I sincerely don't know how many more times I'm going to run it. I'm definitely running it another time, and probably another time after that, but nothing's guaranteed. So, if you have any questions about it, don't hesitate. Don't wait until cart open to make your decision. We can start having that conversation earlier, sooner. Um, so you have some time to plan and make sure it's the right fit for you and ask your questions and feel at ease. I don't want you to feel rushed into a decision. And so if you have any questions about the program, look out for that email, but also just feel free to reach out to me at hello@brandmagnetic.com. And you know how to find me on Instagram at Brand Magnetic. So with that said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. I love you. I was going to say I miss you. I don't miss you, but I love sharing with you. And if something's stuck, just reach out to me on Instagram if that's easier. Send me a little voice note or just email me. I listen to every message, I read every message, and I always respond. So I hope you are building your own empire to a smashing success and you are having the most fun while doing it. Thank you so much and take care for now. I'll see you on the next episode of Empire Secrets. Bye for now.